Casanova had it right with the word weak, right? And that's the main thing. Weakness is not a part of masculinity, and that's a problem. That's why it would absolutely repel women, and you're going to get every horrible result possible following that. She's going to be unattracted to you, and if she's unattracted to you, then that's going to make her able to be attracted to others, right? You're going to see many things happen. She'll either leave or cheat if she finds value in something else that you have, maybe money, resources, whatever. Then she might just deal with you or just tolerate you, really, right? It's very difficult to make a woman to have a woman love you at all if she doesn't respect you. And if you are weak, she's not going to respect you. So that's
Nope.
why, as men, you have to be very careful as to even what you see her witness, right? If you let somebody play you out in front of her, that's a problem. And as much as we'd like to be honest with women about our previous relationships, if a woman hurt you or did you dirty or was able to manipulate you, you can't really express that to her. And I believe in being honest. But if you tell her that you allowed another woman to manipulate you and get over on you, then she already knows your threshold and she's going to try it too. A lot of this stuff happens in the beginning. Women are generally very good at what they call the shit testing in the beginning of a relationship. And she's going to push your buttons and see where you fall in that category. So at some point, you're going to have to check her and make sure that she doesn't cross your boundaries. Because if you don't, a lot of women will just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. If you have no resistance and you just loving so hard that you just put her on a pedestal and you let anything to go, she's not gonna be attracted to you anymore. And a lot of men fall into that because they are so happy just to get with a woman of that caliber sometimes. And this is certainly tying back into the pretty privilege. You'd be like, damn, I never had nobody like this. I'm gonna do everything she wants. I'm gonna make sure she has nothing to worry about. And a lot of times that's just too much. The most powerful word in the human vocabulary is no. Sometimes you have to exercise that no. Even if you don't want to, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't feel natural, right? Because I went through similar situations like this when I was in my learning phases, right? As a teenager, just not understanding how powerful no was. And I was taught sugar and spice and things that's nice. And we were told every way that we're supposed to treat women. But then after trial and error, you realize that there are certain things you just can't tolerate, and people will abuse your kindness sometimes. And you can't allow that. Once a woman decides you don't have any boundaries, like Homegirl was saying in the video, she's going to understand that you won't be able to protect her against anyone. Any outside threat, you're going to be vulnerable to, because if he's letting me, even if that's not what it is, that's at least what the perceived idea is. So she's going to feel like, okay, he can't protect me against nobody. Look, he a chump. He letting me do anything this pushover. Like, do he say no to anything? And it's going to turn a woman off. You're always going to repel women. So you just have to understand. And I don't think that it has to get to the extreme where you are abusive or you just mean. You just have to know, like, you know what? That's outside of my comfort zone. Nah, I'm not really with that. And you express it,
And
right? A lot of times it's not very hard to do. It's just about speaking your mind. Because a lot of dudes will do things they really don't want to do, things that'll take them out of their character, and they'll let it go. You can't do that. You just have to tell them, hey, listen, I'm not really with that. You can explain to them why. And you don't have to be mean about it. But you just have to let them know that certain shit ain't going to fly.
All right, go ahead, Closet Bed.
She said the key word. She said a good woman. Because we all know women, and we've seen them with a man who blatantly disrespect them, who, talk to them any kind of way, and she's okay with that. Like that's okay with her. Now that wouldn't be okay with me. I don't want a man like that. But a good woman, yeah, we'll sniff out somebody who we know we could walk all over and manipulate and be like, nah, because a real woman, we do want that protector. We do want, a man to be able to, make good decisions, make final decisions, and do things like that. But to me, it's a little tricky when she was like, oh, basically, if I can do this to you, anybody can do this to you. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because I've been with men and I've seen men, that I haven't been with, that, a friend or a family member, something's with, who will sniff out and check everybody, but got that weakness or soft spot for his woman. So sometimes it's not, synopsis with, how that man would protect you, because when you in love, sometimes you got on those rosy colored glasses and you let that person that you're deeply in love with get away with stuff, or sometimes they can do no wrong in your eyes, but that don't mean somebody else can't. So that's just where I will argue a little bit, like that's not necessarily the case all the time. Just because, you can manipulate him somewhat, that doesn't mean other people can, because you're like this to him. You're sleeping with this person, you're with this person. So when you have that type of love and your boundaries are down, the people closest to you can hurt and get you the most. But that's just my take.
All right, go ahead, Sweeney. Then we go to Za.
So I find it interesting that when women say, I don't like a man I can walk all over, rather than them saying, I don't like to walk all over men, and then they don't, right? Because why are you doing the walking all over? If you say you don't like if you're saying you don't like it, then why do it? And then when y'all when y'all say those things, when y'all say I don't like a man I can walk all over, it almost implies that the problem is with the man and not the person doing the manipulating or the walking over. You know what I mean? The problem isn't him if a woman is walking all over him or trying to get away with things or being sneaky or lying. The problem is the person doing the sneaking and the lying. But we look at this and say, oh, well, I don't want a man that I can walk all over. Then just don't.
I think you took it to a. I think you
I'm not. I'm just adding more context. I'm just adding more.
Sweetie, can I ask you a question?
Hold on, wait a minute.
Hold on, y'all got to let them finish.
Also,
I think he do this on purpose because ain't no way.
Also, a man being weak for you is not an accurate test on how strong or how well he can protect you or show strength. That's not an accurate representation, because a lot of men are weak for their women, where they may give their women a lot more leeway than they would give any person that they encounter on the street. You know what I mean? So the shit test that a lot of women give, where they're doing something, or like, oh, well, let me see if I can get away with this, and then he lets you get away with it, then you be like, oh, this nigga ain't good enough for me. Like, well, it's not an accurate representation of how well he can protect himself or protect you. It's just he probably likes you or loves you enough to where he trusts you. So, yeah.